Welcome to part 2 of 4.2, trig functions, the unit circle. So our essential question is, how can we interpret the meaning of sine and cosine in words, and how can temperature variation across seasons be modeled using either sine or cosine? So that's a new essential question. So even and odd trig functions. Cosine and secant functions are even, and sine, cosecant, tangent, and cotangent functions are odd. So that means cosine of negative t equals cosine t, secant negative t equals secant t, whereas sine, cosine, cosecant, tangent, cotangent are odd, which means sine of negative t equals negative sine of t. So let's look at a couple examples. So, secant is that an even or an odd function? So you go back. Secant is even, so secant negative t equals secant t. So you know that that means this equals secant pi over 4. And we figured that out earlier, that means this answer would be square root 2. So sine negative pi over 4, you want to go back and look, is this even or odd? So sine is an odd function, so sine of negative t equals negative sine of t. So that's how you solve those. You have to think, is it even or odd? And then you go in and plug in your answer, since we already know pi over 4. Reciprocal identities. I would write these down. I have them written down on a piece of paper above my desk as well. So reciprocal identities is sine t equals 1 over cosecant t. Cosine t is 1 over secant t, etc. Your quotient identity is tangent t equals sine t divided by cosine t. Cotangent t equals cosine t over sine t. Again, I would write these down. So let's use this in an example. So if you're given that your sine t is 2/3 and your cosine t is square root of 5 over 3, you can find the value for the 4 remaining trig functions. So you're given 2, you can find the rest. So tangent t is sine t over cosine t, so just plug in your values. So you have 2/3 over square root of 5/3. This is really 2/3 times 3 over square root 5. So you have 2 over square root 5. You're not allowed to have square roots in your denominator. Now you go on to your secant. So you have 1 over 2/3. So that would give you 3/2. So now you have 2 more values that you can now use in the remaining. So secant t, you have 1 over your cosine t, so 1 over 5 over 3. Remember, you cannot have square root in your denominator. Try your cotangent t on your own. Remember, you solved for tangent t before, so use that when you solve this. So we had tangent t being 2 square root of 5 over 5, so you're going to use that value. When you're done simplifying it, you should have square root of 5 over 2. So your Pythagorean identities. I would write these down again. I have this on a piece of paper above my desk. So you have sine squared t plus cosine squared t equals 1. 1 plus tangent squared t equals secant squared t. and 1 plus cotangent squared t equals cosecant squared t. So you are given that sine t equals 1/2, and t is somewhere between 0 and pi over 2. So find the value of cosine t using your trig identity. So you want to go and think, which one do I have sine and cosine? Your first one, so you have sine squared t plus cosine squared t. So if I solve for cosine squared t, I have cosine squared t equals 1 minus sine squared t. Now we're just going to plug in values. So you take your original identity equation, solve for which piece you're missing, and then solve the equation all the way down. So cosine t is square root of 3 over 2. So make sure you complete the questions below and then watch the next video. Next video, we're going to talk about periodic properties and evaluating trig functions on a calculator.